Hey there guys, we're taking a look at Mad Max running on the AMD Ryzen 5 5500U. Now this is currently running at 1080p with the lowest graphical settings. Now I decided to just play this game because I recently rewatched Mad Max Fury Road and my god is that just such a good movie. And the game itself is pretty alright. It's not amazing, I'm not going to sit here and say it's like the video game equivalent of Fury Road. It's definitely janky in a lot of ways, but it's an enjoyable enough gaming experience and I really enjoy the open world driving in the game. And thankfully at 1080p with the lowest graphical settings, which a lot of the times in the menu it's just going to tell you it's normal quality, everything's set to essentially normal quality or off, we can get some pretty decent performance here. Now the 1% lows aren't amazing, they are dipping below 40, but they're not dipping down too far. And if you look at the frame times, because again frame times are going to be what tells you what the experience is going to be like, you will see a lot of sections where things will be flat. There will be moments where things will spike up, but those moments where things spike up are not distracting enough to ruin the gaming experience. It's definitely worse than what I would want it to be at, but if you really want to reduce some of those 1% low issues, you can always just set the resolution to 900p or 720p instead of 1080p. Personally, I played this for about 2 hours with 1080p, and the performance that I was getting was more than acceptable. I actually just ended up playing way longer than I originally anticipated to play for the testing purposes, just because I got kind of into listening to a podcast while just driving around. And let me show you some of the driving, because right now you've only really seen like the ground combat, and the level of performance that you get while driving and while in these enclosed areas is going to vary, because in these tighter areas the performance does tend to be a little lower. So as you can see, driving around in the open world, the performance that we're getting is a little better in terms of the averages. At least we are getting slightly higher averages, but our 1% lows really don't see much of an improvement at all that I would say would be noticeable in the slightest. So while you're playing the game, it really just depends on what you're doing, but really at no point while playing the game did I feel like we were running into any issues. And you can see in terms of RAM usage, we're not going crazy with it or anything either. It's definitely going to be a better experience than if you only have 8GB of RAM, because remember, when you only have 8GB of RAM, about half of that is already just being eaten up by Windows running. If you have a browser open, you're looking at anywhere, depending on how many tabs you have, anywhere between 50 megabytes all the way up to multiple gigabytes just being eaten up by a web browser. So already you start to really eat into your RAM if you're only limited to 8GB. So while we're using 7GB here, and that's, below that 8GB threshold, remember that when you have 8GB of RAM, a lot of that RAM is just being used up by the system. So what this means is that as it stands right now, this is honestly a great scenario, because that gives us pretty much half of the memory that we have available just dedicated completely to the system. The game itself is using everything that it needs and it's running perfectly. We are not running into a RAM limitation in the slightest here. So overall, I would definitely call this an absolute win for this game. But anyways, I hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, be sure to subscribe and I will see you guys in the next one.